Morning, everybody. Everybody's set. I want to first start off by wishing the Buckeyes well tonight in the Cotton Bowl. We hope for a good Buckeye victory. On December 18th, the Ohio legislature sent me House Bill 68. And since that time, I've sought out people on all sides of the issue to hear their concerns. I listened to the bill's sponsor, Representative Gary Click, and had a very good conversation with him. I appreciate that he and his colleagues have shined a light on this very important issue. I also listened to physicians and counselors who provide gender-affirming care. I did that at each of the 5 children's hospitals in the state. I also listened to physicians who advocate for pausing gender-affirming care until more research on the long-term health effects is conducted. I've listened to families and youth, young people who have had negative experiences, and individuals who have undergone hormone treatments and then detransitioned back to their original gender, as well as those who had gender surgeries in other states when they were minors. I've also listened to youth and parents. Parents have looked me in the eye and have told me that but for this treatment, their child would be dead. They've told me that their child is only alive because of the gender-affirming care that they have received. And youth who have transitioned to a new gender have told me that they are thriving today because of that transition. I think it's very important that we all remember that all those on each side of this issue sincerely and truly believe their position best protects children. These are truly complex issues, and reasonable people can draw vastly different conclusions. This bill would impact a very small number of Ohio's children. But for those children who face gender dysphoria and for their families. The consequences of this bill could not be more profound. Ultimately, I believe this is about protecting human life. Many parents have told me that their child would not have survived, would be dead today, if they had not received the treatment they received from one of Ohio's children's hospitals. I've also been told by those who are now grown adults that but for this care, they would have taken their life when they were teenagers. What so many of these young people and their families have also told me is that nothing they have faced in their life could ever prepare them for this extremely tough journey. Parents are making decisions about the most precious thing in their life, their child. And none of us should underestimate the gravity and difficulty of those decisions. These are gut-wrenching decisions. These are gut-wrenching decisions that should be made by parents and should be informed by teams of doctors who are advising them. These are parents who have watched their child suffer, sometimes for years, and who have real concerns that their child may not survive to reach adulthood. While the child's care team informs their decisions, it is the parents who are living with that child who know their child better than anyone else in the world does. These are horribly, horribly difficult situations. These are crisis situations for that child and for that child's family. Families are basing their decisions on the best medical information that they can get. The decision to move forward should only be reached if the child, the child's parents, and the medical team all agree that that is the right decision. Were I to sign House Bill 68, or were House Bill 68 to become law, Ohio would be saying that the state, that the government, knows better what is medically best for a child than the two people who love that child the most, the parents. Now, while there are rare times in the law, in other circumstances, where the state overrules the medical decisions made by the parents, I can think of no example where this is done, where it is not only against the decision of the parents, but also against the medical judgment of the treating physician and against the judgment of the treating team of medical experts. Therefore, I cannot sign this bill as it is currently written. And just a few minutes ago, I vetoed the bill. Representative Click worked very hard on this bill. He studied the issues. He's a good person, a good man, who fervently wants to protect children. I thank the General Assembly for holding many hearings and listening to hours of testimony from all sides. I appreciate their deliberative process. I've listened to the concerns the legislature raised that led to this bill. And while I have reached a different conclusion on whether to sign this bill, I do share a number of these concerns and agree that action is necessary regarding a number of issues that they have raised. I truly believe that we can address a number of goals in House Bill 68 by administrative rules that will have likely a better chance of surviving judicial review and being adopted. Today, I'm directing my administration and the relevant state agencies to begin work on administrative rules that will go through the full JCAR process to establish important protections for Ohio children and Ohio adults. I invite the members of the General Assembly to meet with us, to collaborate in the rule drafting, and to move this process forward. And I ask them to work with this starting next week. Let me go through the 3 points that we will work on administratively. Number 1, I adamantly agree with the General Assembly that no surgery of this kind should ever be performed on those under the age of 18. I am therefore directing our agencies to draft rules to ban this practice in the state of Ohio. Number 2, I share with the legislature their concern that there is no comprehensive data today regarding persons who receive this care, nor independent analysis of any such data. Therefore, I am today directing our agencies to immediately draft rules to require reporting to the relevant agencies and to report this data to the General Assembly and the public every 6 months. We will do this not only when the patients are minors, but also when the patients are adults. Number 3, I also share the legislature's concerns about clinics that may pop up and try to sell patients inadequate or even ideological treatments. This is a concern shared by people I spoke with who have had both positive experiences and those who have had negative experiences with their own treatments. Those who had positive experiences all noted that they received significant counseling, therapy, and consultation as a family before discussing even the possibility of other treatments. Conversely, those who had negative experiences report that they did not receive adequate counseling. This adequate counseling is absolutely essential to getting this right. Therefore, I am directing our agencies to draft rules that establish restrictions that would prevent pop-up clinics or fly-by-night operations and provide important protections for Ohio children and their families and for adults. I truly believe that we can collaborate, find common ground, and adopt rules to protect Ohio children, adults, and families in this area. It will be my goal in the coming weeks to get these protections adopted through a collaborative and deliberate process. Thank you all, and be happy to take questions.
Can you talk a little bit about the sports ban? You didn't really mention has your view changed on that, or you still think that's OSHA and NCAA's decision?
I focused on the part of the bill that I thought affected the most people and the most children by far, and did not even get to the other question.
Are you anticipating the legislature to override your veto? They have the votes to.
Well, I would hope that the plan that I've outlined, we would be able to work on with the legislature. I believe in several instances it goes further, actually, than Representative Click's bill. And I think these are things that I would hope the legislature would work with us on. I don't think there should be a lot of controversy to getting more data, getting more information. I think information is always good. We clearly have the power to do that through the health department, and we will do that through the health department. So I think more information is always good. I think also that we need to be concerned not just about children, that's our first concern, but we also need to concern about adults. An 18-year-old, who 2 days before was a minor, now today is an adult. He or she should have the same quality of care that we want for our children to have. Same quality of care they would have had a couple of days before. So I think focusing on not just children, but on adults, making sure that the quality is there is very, very important. I mean, the thing that you know, I really immersed myself in this for the last 10, 12 days when we knew this was coming, with the exception of, you know, time with family at Christmas. You know, this is what I've looked at, and I also know the legislature spent a lot of time, you know, taking a look at this, and I'm grateful for what they have done. And Representative Click, I think, you know, what is clear when you look at this and you talk to families who've gone through it, as I said, who've had good experiences and those who have had bad experiences, it's absolutely essential that everyone receive, every patient, whether they're a child or adult, have multidisciplinary comprehensive care. I mean, that really is the key. So we should try to ensure that for every Ohioan who's going through this. So whether it's an adult or whether that's a child. That comprehensive care, you know, is mental health counseling that is extensive and is done by professionals. It's done by people who have a great background in this, pediatric professionals, and counselors in psychiatric care. These are multidisciplinary. When this is done right, it's multidiscipline teams. And that's how it needs to be done. And we need to have that done for adults as well as we do for children. Those are, I think, you know, some of the essential things that really do, in fact, make a difference. If you look at, again, we don't have exact numbers, but it would appear from talking to the children's hospitals, at least in regard to those that they are seeing, the children that they're seeing, that about 2/3 of the children who start this do not get the medication. So 2/3 of them, there's consultation with the family, there's consultation with the child, and there may be something else going on in that child's life besides you know, the gender dysphoria. And in 2/3 of those cases, they never advance to the treatment. And so that is essential. It's important this be done right. It's important that it be done deliberately, and it's important it be done carefully. And I think that what we're setting out here, and the work that we're going to do with the legislature will assure that any adult or any child in the state of Ohio will be able to go through that process.
However, the transgender participation in sport was another part of this bill, was a big part of this bill. Can you comment on that? And had this been a standalone bill with transgender participation in sport, would you have signed?
Yeah, the second, the sports part of this bill, certainly important, but it affects just a handful, literally a handful of children. The part that I've addressed affects many more, even though it's a small number of the total population of children in the state of Ohio. So I focused on that, and I did not ever get to the second issue, and that's, you know, enough for one gulp at this anyway. So we'll come back, and you know, when this comes up later on. So.
What items particularly do you want to see the state collect? You've mentioned, for example, if they start a process and then they drop. Is that the kind of thing you want to?
Yeah, and I'm going to leave that again. We want to work that through with the legislature. We want to work that through with our departments. You know, when you look at this field, the first thing that you figure out when you kind of dig into it is there isn't a whole lot of data of what's going on specifically in Ohio. We need to know that, and frankly, you know, over time we need to have longitudinal studies as well. So we have, you know, but there's some information that we can get immediately, and you know, that's what we need to do. We need to start getting, you know, who's getting this care, how many come in, how many start the process, how many finish, how many go to this, how many go to that, just data. And again, I'm just a firm believer in more information you can have, the better it is for public policy discussions. I think that's better for the legislature, it's better for the public, it's better for the governor, better for everybody.
Can you really explain the difference other medical providers to do this, what could potentially be a life-saving surgery. Could you explain your difference in that?
Well, certainly if it is something that is, life-saving surgery, no one is going to say that can't occur. Look, there's kids have surgeries, life-saving surgeries all the time. But in all the families that I talk to, who looked me in the eye and said, my child would not be alive today but for the care they got. And if you take this care away, there are going to be other families who are not going to be able to get this type of care. None of them that I talked to talked about surgery. That's not where they were going in the discussion. And I think that's, frankly, a fallacy that's out there that, this goes right to surgery. It just doesn't. All the children's hospitals, say, we don't do surgeries. Look, let's make sure there are no surgeries done and by anybody. And so that's what we propose here. But I'll go back to the point. The issue about surgeries, when I talk to families who have gone through this, the issue of surgeries that's not what they said was a problem. They didn't say, oh, we have to have a surgery at 16. I think it's a mistake. I just think as a matter of public policy, we should not be doing that. Where the request is in the rest of the care that would be out there.
Governor, throughout the entire process of this bill, we've watched people on both sides approach it with passion, visible passion. What has that been like for you to watch, and did that play into your decision at all?
Well, you're absolutely right. This is an issue that has people on both sides have great passion. The decisions that parents are making are not easy decisions. They're just not. What we find in life, sadly, is that many times we are making decisions and neither alternative is sort of what we'd want, but we have to make a decision. And I just felt that there's no one better than the parents to make those decisions. You want those decisions to be informed. You want them to rely on doctors. You want them, frankly, to rely on a team of doctors, multidisciplinary. But ultimately, these tough decisions should not be made by the government. They should not be made by the state of Ohio. They should be made by the people who love these kids the most, and that's the parents who have raised the child, the parents who have seen that child go through agony, the parents who worry about that child every single day of their life. Those are the people who should make this decision, not the state of Ohio.
Governor, you say the state of Ohio shouldn't make these decisions, but you're proposing your own ban on these surgeries for those under 18.
Again, this is not an area where there was great request. I think that, it tells you something that the children's hospitals in this state who are providing good care and came out against this bill, they're not doing surgeries. They're not, let me just finish. They're not doing the surgeries. And so, they're just, from the people who are directly involved in this, there does not seem to be any kind of great demand for surgeries. Again, what we found is there needs to be a process, and for many people, they never get to the surgeries.
Governor, just to clarify, so are you vetoing this bill because you're supportive of non-surgical gender-affirming treatments, but you're opposed to gender-affirming treatments that have surgeries?
I'm in favor of what I've said, which is what I'm in favor of parents making these very difficult decisions, not the government. Who else?
Turning to a previous question, turning this over to families and their doctors, was an argument that was made during issue 1 last year. How do you distinguish this position
Yeah, sure. Look, that's a very, very good question. Look, this is a question of life, as far as I'm concerned. You know, on the abortion issue, I believe that's a question of life and protecting human life. I believe ultimately my decision here was ultimately made about protecting life, and that is the life of these children. And those decisions being made what's best by the parents. But to me, it's a question of life and protecting human life.
Governor, can you talk more about these pop-up clinics that you're concerned about? What have you heard and what's...
Well, look, we ran into one case, and you know, you kind of find these things when you're on the phone. You find them when you're talking to people. We had one case where someone went to a clinic that I'd never heard of. Doesn't mean they weren't a clinic in Ohio, but you know, they were an Ohio clinic. You know, what you learn as you go through this, and as I said, I try to immerse myself and learn as much as I could. I don't pretend to be an expert, but what you learn is that everybody agrees there needs to be a process and it needs to be a focus on mental health, and there needs to be a team behind that. And if you don't have adequate mental health counseling, you know, you're not getting what you should be getting as a patient. The parents are not getting what they should get. Adults are not getting what they should get. The idea that someone can walk in and just, you know, without psychological counseling, without mental health counseling, and start down the road with taking these drugs, I think virtually everybody I've talked to says that is not the way to do it. And so what I'm trying to stake out is to do this the Ohio way. And the Ohio way is to approach things in a systematic manner, to follow the evidence, to be careful, and that's really what we're doing. And if we do this, which I fully intend us to do, I think we will set up a model for other states. We're doing this the Ohio way. We're not saying that when that 17-year-old turns 18, we don't care about what happens to them. I know no one feels that way, but you know, we should continue to worry about what kind of care they are in fact getting. And so that's what my concern is. And that's why I've outlined this three-pronged approach that we're going to start moving on immediately. Anybody else?
Can you talk about your conversations with the children's hospitals, and are they okay with your proposals too, or did they help with those at all?
Look, I mean, we had, as I think you know, I traveled to Akron, I traveled to Columbus here, children's, and I also went to Cincinnati, sat down with the key people and did that. But, you know, it was just part of it. We did that. Look, it was a fact-gathering trip, and I'm not going to speak for the children's hospitals. They'll say whatever they want to say about it. But this is what we came up with, what I came up with. I'm the person responsible for it. Buck stops with me on this.
I know the system is a ways off, but once you get through these rules and such a system is set up, if you are a low-income family, do you support money going to such things as this kind of counseling and treatment?
Look, I think we'll cross those bridges when we kind of see what we end up with. Anybody else? All right, thank you all very much.